Copies of the board meeting calendar resolution were provided to all local media, town hall, township, library, and all district schools. Roll call, please, Mrs. Francisco.
Mr. Bailey. Mr. Dever.
Here.
Mr. Drew.
Here.
Mrs. Dwyer. Here. Mr. Foodie.
Present.
Mr. Huber.
Here.
Mrs. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Robbins. Mrs. Schultz.
Here.
Rodney, I don't know if Barbara, he contacted you. He's in Connecticut. He's coming home late this evening, he said. Would someone, Mr. Dever, would you read the executive session resolution, please?
Following resolution, the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent search, personnel negotiations, and matters of attorney-client privilege. Executive session minutes will not be released until such time as the privilege or confidentiality is no longer applicable.
Second.
Oh, and we won't be adding a hint to that. One.
To include one word.
I amend the second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Rashika, the superintendent's report, please.
Okay, welcome everyone. Last Monday, we had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Paul Palick, who is from the State Department, and it was a visit that consisted of him actually reviewing not actually our observations, but the results of our observations of teachers and administrators. And it was also an overview of our scores, looking at what the scores are, and coming up with some suggestions for us to work forward. Overall, I think we did a very good job. But we did spend about 2 hours going through numbers, so that was very interesting. And this is part of the state's monitoring in the way to make sure that schools are doing what they're supposed to do. So they look at the scores from student achievement tests. They look at how many observations are completed. They look at how many observations principals have been involved in, so forth. They also look for the results of the observations over a period of time. And it's based on all kinds of calculations. So that was, along with everything else that we've been through this year, I don't think we've missed any possible type of monitoring in the last 2 years. So good luck to the new superintendent, because he'll be free for at least 3 to 4 years. So when that happens. But so that's that piece of it. Also, I wanted to mention that we were fortunate to have classroom close-up here twice within the last couple of weeks. Once over, I believe, was Apshawa School for one of our history teachers. And just last week for Macapin for their Character Ed program. So that's good. That should be on. As soon as I have the air dates for those, I will share them with everyone. And also, I want to throw out a big congratulations to every student and staff member that was involved with the school musical at the high school. Just an excellent job. Very proud of all of them. So that's my short and sweet report for this evening. And that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Barbara, special reports and correspondence?
Yes, before we get into the presentation on the preliminary budget, just to let the board members know that all the meeting minutes from February will be on March 22nd. They'll be available for your consideration review for March 22nd. And now, as you are aware, today is our required preliminary budget hearing. Everything has to be submitted to the state of New Jersey. Mr. Rashika and Mr. Novak are going to speak about the programs that are coming up and what they would like to see happening in the next school year. So they're going to start the budget presentation, and then I will conclude it with the dollar figures. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask them as they come along. Remember, too, that the budget that's being presented tonight is just preliminary. It has to go down for state approval. Any changes that the board chooses to make can be made between now and our second April meeting, when it's the public hearing of the budget. So you'll have an opportunity to review and talk about it in committee meetings in April, along with our workshop meeting and our presentation of the budget at the end of April. So with that, Mr. Rashiko?
Yeah, I will go there in just 1 second. There was just one thing. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. When I made up the agenda, this didn't happen yet. So last night, Mr. Novak and I, and I'm sure many other people in the audience, had the pleasure of attending the Empty Bowls fundraiser presented by the high school and the art department. And just an excellent job. Over at Macapin School, goes out to food pantries and helps feed 200 people. And turnout was wonderful, and I think they had probably about 12 to 14 different types of soup available, and quite a selection of bowls as well. So compliments to those folks, too. Lots of wonderful things going on. Very proud of everyone. Thank you. So are we going to have... yeah.
Are you doing the board behind us? Are you
Yeah.
going to blind us? Okay.
April 26th. Public budget hearing.
Okay, so as Ms. Francisco said, the preliminary budget report is a focus on the things that we would like to see happen, pardon my back here, the things that we would like to see happen over the next school year, along with building upon what we currently have. The place where we really need to look first in order to determine any budget is to look at the goals of the district. So we looked here and we saw the create awareness and opportunities for students and staff participation related to STEAM. Okay, so STEAM, for those of you who don't know, is STEM. So we're looking at the science, technology, engineering, and math. But we have an A in there, and that stands for the arts. The reason why, I will get back to that a little bit later on in the presentation, but actually I feel that our school district has such an excellent arts program that we should connect them to this STEM program. We want to enhance the district's culture and climate to foster student achievement and recognition throughout the collaboration with all stakeholders. We've made many steps to improve collaboration with parents. There are many different programs that we offered this year, and we certainly want to continue along that path for next year. And to develop and implement the effective and timely communication plan, which is something that's still in the works. It's going to take time to make that better. But we are aware of it, and we are trying the best we possibly can. So there's been lots of discussion and things put into place along with the Board of Education. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Mr. Novak. He can talk to you a little bit about some of our new programs and the budget parameters themselves. So we want to maintain the programs and staffing, as I just said. Increased number of AP classes available to support required teacher training. Assess the technology needs to work toward a one-to-one environment for the iPads and Chromebooks. Now, for those of you who are up to date with us, you know that we have many PCs, iPads, and Chromebooks. In fact, the Chromebooks are used extensively throughout the testing process. The new piece for us is, now that we have all this new infrastructure coming in that's currently taking place, is looking at bring your own device. So that's going to be uncharted waters for us, because it means that students can actually use, perhaps down the road, their cell phones or whatever device they bring to school, as well as teachers and so on. So we have to look at the parameters and what we're going to set for that. And to also, with all this technology, I have to inform you, textbooks are still needed. So we want to replace textbooks and make sure that they're in alignment with state standards. So Mr. Novak will go over some of the new programs, and here he is.
Thank you.
I'm just going to highlight briefly some of our new course offerings that are in this year's proposed budget. The first one, I'm going to go, like I said, go down them all briefly. The first one, Power Speaking. It's a combined course utilizing our English language arts and our history staff. The course is called Power Speaking, and it's going to highlight on debate, critical thinking skills, research skills, a wide array of skills necessary for students to have a bit of a better and more successful high school path. The second one is an elective. It's a half lunch elective called Coding from Scratch, and it is aimed at block coding and probability and some of the higher order thinking skills that go along with everything that we need to do with the STEM initiatives that you've seen connected to our building goals. We also are offering, it's a resurrection of a previously existing course called Fundamentals. It's for our grade 12 students. It's to help accommodate our portfolio appeals process when we have students who don't meet graduation requirements by taking qualifying assessments. This course is in place to assist, which we didn't have in place this year, and we had to, when we realized the problem from the state, we had to scramble a little bit. That won't be the case next year. We're being proactive to get this course up and running, so we have it in place. The next offering is our chemistry B in science, and this is to offer a wider range of options in the physical sciences for our B level students. It's going to be the same curriculum, same criteria. However, it's going to be modified for the students who are at that B track level. And the next offering is our freshman seminar. Freshman seminar is going to be an interdisciplinary course that has a lot of different staff members from different departments joining in. The focus is really to develop a high school career-ready student at the 9th grade level. It's going to focus on study skills, organizational skills, a wide array of necessary components to have again, similar to Power Speaking, to really build a quality high school student throughout their career. This will also raise the graduation requirement from 120 to 125 credits. This course is the first in a 2-course process, freshman seminar, and then this first group of students coming in this cohort will again have something called junior seminar in their junior year. At the end of that process, they will have an additional 5 credits toward their graduation. I'm going to go through the last 2 at the end, and I'm going to refer to Mrs. West's wide range of reorganization of the traditional English Lit process. And this really capitalizes on the expertise and passion of the staff while addressing the feedback we get from students about the things they want and the things that engage them. And the excitement around these courses has been tremendous. I'm not going to go too much into each one. I did highlight these courses through a student video about 2 months ago, where we had students actually talking about the genre in which they were going to be studying and really sharing their excitement with the process. Over on the area where it says elementary, I had a few exciting moments over the last month where I was able to meet with Mrs. Grattina and Mrs. West, who I'm happy to see in the audience tonight, where we developed 3- and 5-year goals for our elementary students for language arts and math. So it's a very exciting process that we put together where we are going to be targeting professional development in the areas of writer's workshop and then also in best practice for the New Jersey Learning Standards in math to really support our Go Math process in the elementary schools. So very exciting. One of the reasons I wanted this position, I'm standing here today, was to do that. So it was a very exciting moment to work with the 2 supervisors to get that done. We also have a wide range of special ed programs. They vary year to year based on IEP, and I know that Mrs. McQuaid, Dr. McQuaid, is in the process of organizing that array of courses for next year based upon the IEP needs of the students. Still me. This is a breakdown of our current AP courses. We have total AP courses of 22, which is a raise of 1 over above from last year. Last year we offered 21. We actually are only going to be offering 2 in science last year. It's part of a rotation and breaks down to scheduling needs in regard to how many students are able to take the APs in science for next year. But we do offer and have the ability to offer up to 22.
So again, we get back to STEM, STEAM. So we want to continue the efforts to work with a lot of the local colleges and universities are more than willing to help. It's just having the time to sit down and have some discussion and work in a similar way that our staff does in a professional learning community to discuss our needs and then bring them into the district to try to help us out. So looking at local colleges from Montclair State, William Patterson, Kane University, all have wonderful programs. We want to try to bring them in, build up that relationship. Utilize new and existing labs. You know that we have a new lab that we're currently working on over at Macapin School that will be useful for the younger students, and certainly, if high school students want to go there and work, depending on the direction we move in, it will be there for them as well. So we want to use, in addition to the labs, the digital printers that we have within the district to create artistic products, architectural design specs, and other creative fabrications as needed. When we talk about the art piece, you could take photography, and those pictures can become 3D images coming out of a printer, and multiple colors, and make adjustments to size and everything else. So you take the AutoCAD program along with the art program and the photography program, and these things can happen. So that's very, very exciting. Combine the expertise of both STEM and arts education in the district to create an authentic interdisciplinary experience for students utilizing co-planning and co-teaching models. In other words, we want to bring in our math teachers, science teachers, art teachers, it could even be our music teachers, to develop, design. Music teachers can design new instruments. We look at some of the shows, one close to my heart is Blue Man Group, where they use PVC piping for instruments, and all kinds of designs can come out of that, and it's very, very exciting. I'd like to point out in a book written by one of our former Secretaries of Education, Richard Riley, this is interesting. The top 10 in-demand jobs in the future don't exist today. We're currently preparing students for jobs that don't even exist, problems that don't exist. So we need to take this head on and be very, very invested in getting our students ready for what's coming up in their lives. Certainly the 9 to 5 behind the desk type job is going away. We see many of these positions turning into computers. We walk up to an ATM machine. I'm sure banks are, if we look at the number of tellers that actually worked in banks 20 years ago as compared to today, it's a big difference. So we want to keep that in mind. The current Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, also points out that the arts is no longer a frill. We need young people with creative minds, forward thinkers, to get into the market for our economy and to compete globally. So this is a very important area that we need to work on, and I think we're following the right steps and we have what's needed. We also want to develop various programs which will support the area of after school and on weekends within that. So if we can have a robotics teams that we're working on with younger students and with some of the older students, perhaps there will be some time on a Saturday or a Sunday to come in, work in these labs, develop, design, and build. The school day is only so long, so we have to look at some other alternatives. So embrace a commitment to sustained and meaningful professional development. I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Novak.
I'm just going to comment briefly on some of the process. I alluded to a little bit of the process in my working with a couple supervisors. However, in the development of this budget, we really put our efforts behind and our resources toward the development of professional development for our staff. And in looking at the school budget, you're going to see the numbers later. Our biggest commodity, in my opinion, is our staff. And when we talk about an investment, I like to think that an investment in our staff is is really one of the best things that we could do, especially when we talk about the title of this slide, Focus for the Future. And that's something that we've committed to in this process. I talked about earlier about developing 5-year plans with supervisors to really develop our curriculums and help our staff work towards the best practice skills they need in the classroom. So we've really committed to providing those opportunities for next year and then the foreseeable future.
Again, we want to incorporate I think this is very important. This is one thing we don't do. We're always sitting around and we're told we have to make goals. We sit down, we want to make goals, and we have various goals. We have the district goals, we have strategic planning goals, and I think it's time for the entire Board of Education and the community to spend some time together in order to engage both sets of goals to really decide which direction we want to move in. I have mentioned this, I think, last board meeting about the strategic planning goals. That is something that was, again, created by community members in conjunction with staff members. We really need to have dialogue to look at that. The board itself needs to look at the strategic plan to decide what areas we're actually addressing currently and what we need to address in the future. But more importantly, connect those to the district goals. You will see that they will be in alignment. And that's how we're going to be successful. We want to get students ready for college and career based on the 21st century skills. So that's very, very important. And sustainability of the current programs. We certainly want to keep those programs which we have. We want them to continue to be successful. We don't want to be a district that comes up with new ideas every year, run something for a year, and then decide we're going to do something else. Sustainability is the key. You can only build upon something, a good idea that's creative, and something that's going to enhance learning by sticking with it. So we want to do that. In-district programs for special ed students. Again, we are including our preschool program for autistic students and continued growth at the Highlander Academy with an increase, hopefully, of tuition-paying students. I believe now we have 1 or 2? One? Okay, so there is some interest in bringing some districts are interested in bringing some of their students here as well. There are not too many programs out there other than going to private schools. So this can certainly enhance our program here and bring in another source of revenues. And I'll let Mr. Novak talk about this one.
In the beginning, when Mr. Rashika discussed our district goals, the second goal referenced culture and climate in relation to student achievement. When we began our process with striving toward being named schools of character or potentially district of character, we started with the mindset and the focus on some of the research that schools that commit to building character in their students see a rise in student achievement. And we've found that to be the case in the buildings that have been really working towards it, and we are committed to stay with that effort. And one of the things I want to bring up, because we do have, we're very fortunate. We have a emerging school of character in Paradise Knoll, and I see Mrs. Miller here. We have 3 schools in the district that were named state schools of character: Maple Road, Upper Greenwood Lake, and the Macapin School, and then the Macapin School also named National School of Character. These are not statements that they're now a perfect school. These are statements that they have put programs in place to steer everyone in the right direction. And that's the part that we're most proud of. And when I was able to comment on the most recent school to be named School of Character with Maple Road, their process for building character began long before anyone talked about a recognition or an application or anything like that. It has nothing to do with the recognition. It's about what we're doing for our students. And when we're able to build those character traits within them, we see a better product in the classrooms. And it's connected, it's capable, it's contributing, it's all those great things that we want our students to bring to the classroom. I'm going to give a plug for a character event that we have coming up. It's called, you don't need to move, we're good. we have our digital citizenship, digital literacy and citizenship night coming up on Monday, March 21st. I just was talking to Mr. Foodie about it, and I am not sending a Honeywell reminder tonight because we already have 200 people signed up. It's going to be an exciting event, and our RSVPs are due tomorrow. We're going to be busting at the seams at Macapin. It's going to be a great night. And the reason I'm bringing it up now, talking about character education, is because that is where the idea of digital citizenship is, where we connect character education with the technology and 21st century skills that Mr. Rashika was referring to when we talked about STEM, and the iPad and one-to-one initiatives, everything that we're working towards in building our technology initiatives to make our students more career ready. We are building character education into that. So on Monday night, on March 21st, you're going to see where those two roads meet, and you're going to see our plan for how this is going to help develop better digital citizens and better character education within our students going forward. So very excited. As you see, I pepped up a little bit when we started talking about that. I get excited about it. But that really relates to our focus for the future, is how do we make character education and technology skills build toward an all-round student for increasing student achievement, and I think we're on the right track in that regard.
So that is great news, and I look forward to that on Monday night. Also, I just have to put a little plug. Mr. Novak will be feeding everyone at that, so there will be food. We was planning on having some really nice stuff out there, but I think at this point, I was teasing him earlier on. I said, if we're going to be close to 200, I think you may be serving kibble and bits, but we'll work on it. We'll do much better than that. Okay. There we go. Develop additional programs for all students needing support with an emphasis on extended learning time. What is extended learning time? It can be that we redevelop the schedule during the school time, which is not going to happen just yet contractually. That would be a long and tedious job. But there are other times of the day that we can extend our programs. Why do I bring this up? I've had within my WAMPA meetings and talking to other parents, we look at various schools who have encore programs and other things happening, and they're entitled to these programs because they're part of Title I. Title I is basically developed for students who meet certain requirements financially. We look at the free and reduced lunch. Now, I have to stop and think, and I think all of us do, are those the only students that have educational problems and challenges? Absolutely not. So we have to find ways to reach the students that may be at risk, but, come from families who can afford things, but certainly they need help as well. So we really have to have an open mind to develop what kinds of programs we can look for extended learning time. The research on this from the Harvard Family Institute is outstanding. I mean, there will be some places where you will see more growth in mathematics than you will in language arts, but there's growth. It also helps students to work on their study skills and their overall habits, so they can take those skills that they learn and use them for the rest of their educational career. So we want to focus on that. Expand the autistic program for pre-K to 2, which is going very well. Community-based instruction, we're working on that as well. That is something we instituted this year. We want to branch that out a little bit more. We want to take that over to our students at Highlander Academy. Certainly, if they're not ready to work yet, I think that the opportunity for job shadowing for an hour or two, maybe once a week or once a month to start, is healthy for them. It takes them out of the school environment. It shows them what real life is all about. When you're doing things that are not too acceptable in school, you'll see that that's not something you can do when you're going out there trying to get a paycheck. So I think that's very important. Increase the learning and language disabilities, referred to as LLD, and a self-contained program. And new course electives, as we saw that Mr. Novak pointed out, at both West Milford High School and at Macapin. A refined teacher expertise in the use of Google Apps for education, and phase in the STEAM program across all levels. When we talk about STEAM, we talk about the technology. Many people just picture in their minds perhaps middle school through high school. We've already started to develop this in the elementary school. Many of the classes already have Lego kits to develop robots and look at the engineering pieces to develop even at that level. So we want to continue to grow with that as well. So there's lots of innovation, lots of things to keep West Milford in the right place educationally with strong goals and a commitment to student success. And that's what our part of the budget is. I'm going to bring Ms. Francisco up to talk about the nuts and bolts, which is really the financial piece, and what we need to do other than the academics.
Thank you, Mr. Rashika. I have to start by saying the Board of Education has been extremely supportive of the different programs that the supervisors and principals have wanted to initiate over the last few years. I think that in many ways we're in a very good place. We have the wireless, we have a lot of technology now, we have almost all the new textbooks that we need with online components. We have level libraries in the elementary schools. We've made a commitment to the Columbia College program for literacy. Mrs. West had brought into the nonfiction component with the elementary school classroom. So we've really gotten a lot of support from the Board of Education over the last few years, and it has been great for students. Some of the other things that are kind of a little bit boring, because program is much more exciting than like a part-time athletic trainer, or replacing the buses in our normal replacement cycle, which are also parts of this budget. But I'd rather listen to program. But one good thing that I'm hoping that the Board of Education will be willing to support is the phase 1 of the high school auditorium renovation. We were very, very fortunate. Back in December, the community supported the roof replacement for Macoupin and West Milford High School. And we did bring in bids last week. And next week, the board is going to have the opportunity to approve the recommendation of our architect. And I could tell you that the bids came in very, very well. So it's a very exciting time for West Milford. And when we talked about the renovation of the high school roofs or replacements, we talked about perhaps using some of the fund balance or the excess fund balance that we knew we were going to have in order to start the auditorium renovation. The auditorium is a focal point not only of the high school but of the community itself. The students use it basically throughout the day. We have some gym classes in there because we only have one gym at the high school. So a lot of the times they have like the dance classes and things like that that are on the stage at the high school. So we talked about possibly, when I talked to the architects and engineers and they came in to take a look at the high school, they gave me a list of different things that needed to be accomplished. And naturally that was a pretty big number to swallow. But this here, I think, is a nice start, and it will give us a step in the right direction. And any future work is not going to be interrupting the things that we can accomplish with this. The auditorium seating, the house lighting, the ceiling replacement. Originally, West Milford Auditorium had a couple classrooms in the back of it. And if you look at the back of the ceiling, it's a little low at the back of the auditorium. So we've actually talked about finding a way to improve the sight line to the stage and eliminating that classroom aspect. So we're really looking to do a nice cosmetic and structural change to the auditorium so that we can really make it a focal point for the community and for the school. And then again, we have like a few boring capital projects like parking lot repaving and replacement, and replacing a fence at Munson Field because it's really not what's in compliance, right? So and we don't want anyone getting hit in the head with a ball. So we've done a lot over the last few years, even with capital projects. We've replaced Marshall Hill roof. We replaced Westbrook's roof. We've replaced 3 boilers. We've done a lot of paving projects. So we've really tried to address a lot of the things that were lacking, and the board has been so very supportive with all of those all of those things that we've attempted to do. So now we talk about revenue. One thing that I struggled with this year was what the principals and supervisors were asking for, because they kind of got used to having a lot more than they had in the past. So I have had to trim back some of their requests, and they're not getting all of the things that they put on their wish list year after year, because quite honestly, we're trying to be cognizant of the fact that, the board is frugal and they don't want to really increase the tax levy. So we've gotten a little bit extra money from the state of New Jersey this year. Surprise, surprise. They've given us an additional $34,480 for professional learning communities. So that's why you can see an additional increase in our state aid number from last year. Extraordinary aid is basically an application that we have to submit in the spring, and the governor decides whether he's going to fund and at what level. But I've put an increase in only because we've had some new students move into town that we believe are going to be able to, that are going to need extraordinary services, so that the costs are going to be a little bit higher than what we're used to. And so we're looking to be able to hopefully get some reimbursement from the state a year from now for those particular students. The fund balance, that is our excess amount of money. Last year we put in $2,500,000. This year our excess surplus is $2,957,314. And that basically, we don't know from year to year what that is going to be. I have to say that a lot of that additional money has been because of the employee benefit contributions. Sorry, but that's the reality of it all. And that is, we've hit our tier 4, so I don't believe that that is going to increase in a large way in the future. Also, we've been very frugal about how we spend our money. The board only increased the tax levy by $500,000 last year. So they've been very concerned about some of the costs. But we did have additional money left over, and that, by law, has to go in to support the 2016-17 budget. Our Medicaid reimbursement is something that we get a number from the state. This is our target amount of money that we have to hit. And so that's where that comes from. You've heard Dr. McQuaid talk about Highlander Academy, and we have one tuition student. We do have some special ed programs that we're now starting to get more tuition students in. We also run our pre-K program, and we do have some general education students that do pay tuition to attend there. And so we have a small increase in what I anticipate our tuition to be. Miscellaneous revenue also, I did a 3-year average of what our miscellaneous revenues have been, and I felt comfortable increasing that number to support the current 2016-17 proposed budget. Maintenance reserve, there's $100,000 less. About 3 years ago, we had put away $500,000 into maintenance reserve, and we've been withdrawing on an annual basis from that amount of money. So at this year, there was only $50,000 left. In June, the board can determine if we're going to have some fund balance, whether or not they want to refund that maintenance reserve. It certainly does help us in trying to ease our costs over over the budget cycles, but certainly that's up to the board. The tax levy recognizes a 2% increase from last year, which is the maximum that we're allowed to go up. I have to tell you, too, that I've probably cut well over $1 million from the requests that we did get, because when we do get the initial request from the supervisors and principals, Mr. Novak, Dr. McQuaid, Mr. Rashika, and I sit down, and we determine basically what programs we want to put forward and what we don't really feel we could afford at this point in time. So the number that you see is basically where we felt comfortable in a presentation. Now, how does that break down among our programs? You can see, I don't need to read each individual number, but you can see small increases across the board in each one of those areas that we try to track. We've been trying to maintain our costs or restrict our costs in operations and maintenance, and you can see that the increase is very minimal. We've recognized the fact that we've made some efficiencies in our natural gas and our electric, and we've tried to incorporate that into our budget requests every year. So you can see that operations and maintenance has not increased that much. Employee benefits, we're looking at, preliminary number was a 10% increase on our health side and a 20 to 25% increase on our prescription side. That was when we first started working with the budget in January. We're now down to an 8% increase on the health side and a 19% increase on the prescription side. We're hoping that, it's not going to be that significant, but unfortunately at this point in time, we really can't determine where it's going to be. In our capital outlay, we have less projects this year. Naturally, the auditorium renovation is going to be the lion's share of the capital projects. And when you look at the distribution of the revenues for the general fund, that's the way it works its way out. What does this mean for our taxes? Last year, the tax levy was $4,829.08 for the average assessed home. This year, it is anticipated, if the board does not reduce the 2% tax levy increase, it'll be $4,932.31 for the average assessed home, which equals $103.23. That's including debt service. And debt service, let me say that our debt service is a little less than it was last year. We had talked about retiring the balance of the debt. Mr. Ferrioli, our auditor, feels that that's really not necessary. We don't need to do that at this point. We will be looking to sell bonds in June, but the next payments won't be done. When we build next year's budget for 17-18, it won't spike the debt service tax that needs to be paid. You'll also notice that the roof replacement projects were not in here because they're not part of your budget. The roof replacements are a separate item that was already voted on with the referendum. So at this time, I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions from the board. Just a reminder, too, that this preliminary budget, as it's shown, again, we have the whole month of April in order to review and tweak and try to reduce the tax levy, if that's what the board's desire is, so that when we do a final budget presentation on April 26th, I believe, it will be as the board is comfortable with. Any questions? Mr. Dever?
I'm glad to see that the state, out of our $74 million budget, has contributed an additional $34,480 towards alleviating some of the pain. Thank you, New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm glad it was that way and not the other way. Any questions? Mr. Foodie?
A couple questions. The withdrawals from capital reserve and maintenance reserve, what are they going to be used for?
The maintenance reserve supports the maintenance budget, which is, the required maintenance that we have, which is also tied to the comprehensive maintenance plan. The capital reserve is going to fund some of the paving projects that we have. And the only reason why I ended up using the capital reserve is because we took some of the paving projects out, but there were some that we wanted to leave in. And because I didn't want to take it from the program side of the ledger, I took them out of capital reserve. Now, as we tweak the budget, we could, eliminate the capital reserve amount, but some of the projects that we did use capital reserve for, like our boiler replacements, we will actually be putting money back into the capital reserve account because there was a savings. So what we have coming up in the future, we definitely have the transportation remediation project. Where that's going, we don't know. We're still waiting for a report from our professional an engineer, the LSRP. We have our fingers crossed that it's not going to be as bad as we thought, where we don't have to remove all that dirt. I don't know what the Department of Environmental Protection is going to do, but I'm being optimistic, and that'll be something we cross in the 17-18 budget.
And that's what I was going to ask next. Since we'll have a report probably by June, I guess?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. The possibilities of this, are we going to have to revisit or test again since we're waiting a year? Because I would imagine that if we do our tests, are we going to continue to monitor this before we do something?
The last conversation that I had with them, we've been monitoring for 2 years now. So they have a pretty good indication of the way things have been going over the 2-year cycle. From what they've told me, they plan on continuing with the monitoring. So whatever plan they come up with is going to have to be approved by the DEP, so it's not going to be able to be done quickly anyway, because you can't upset transportation unless it's during the summertime.
Is that continuation of the monitoring, is that included in our budget?
No.
Where
I don't know if that needs to be done. I don't know if it's going to be part of our next year's budget cycle or not. They haven't said that. They have 2 years' worth of tests right now that they're working on, and they're working on reviewing the results. So once the DEP looks at whatever plan they put together and approve it, then we'll have to see what happens with it. Certainly if it happens in 6 months into the budget cycle, at that time we will review our budget and see if we have areas that we can pull from in order to fund whatever needs to be done. But I personally can't see us putting money aside for that with too many unknowns. Certainly you have other avenues in order to get the money. You could always also do a resolution to transfer money from capital reserve if you really need it. But I think I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that if we have to continue the monitoring, it's not as significant a cost as putting the wells in to begin with. So, any other questions?
I have a question, but it's not for you.
Okay.
For Mr. Novak. Okay. Dan, I'm sorry. I had expressed concern about the freshman seminar class once before. To me, it seems like it's a redundancy of study skills and organizational skills, where the kids should be getting this toward the end of elementary school and in the junior high. And I'm wondering why we can't make that freshman seminar class somehow related to the STEAM program. You said you wanted to infuse it a little at a time, so why?
There's also some STEAM-related initiatives within the freshman seminar, focusing on 21st century career and readiness skills. That's part of it.
And what else did I want to say? So that, and the other thing, I just want to clarify one thing. The fundamentals math class is for students who do not meet the graduation requirement of the standardized testing?
Yeah,
So
so
they have to develop the portfolio and do...
correct. So this year with the park refusals or students who didn't get a qualifying score in park or qualifying assessment through PSAT, SAT, et cetera, we had a number of students who didn't qualify to meet graduation rate. This is going to support that group of kids.
One more question, last one, I promise. Are there only 2 AP placement classes in English? Could others be offered, or
Well-
is that all that's available?
At this point in time, that's all that's available. As you saw, there was a pretty wide scope and restructuring within the language arts department. Currently, their offer is AP English, Language and Composition, and then AP English, Literature and Composition.
Okay, and that's all that, okay, thank you.
At this point in time, yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add to I think, Ms. Dwyer, in regards to the freshman seminar program, you're looking at it as the study skills, and you're right. You're right about part of it, but I think that you have to realize, and you know this, that the most stressful time in adolescence, educational careers moving into the freshman year of high school. You will notice that students having a difficult time, their attendance will decline. Their interest and engagement in school will decline, and that's what we're trying to stop. We're trying to have that be someplace comfortable for them to work with teachers and other students to be part of the actual community, the school community. So we're hoping that that would enhance the engagement of students and helping them feel comfortable in a high school environment. So that's another piece.
Are the benchmarks for that class, are they in place? Do you have benchmarks ready?
I believe they are in place, and they're still developing, though. We're still working on that program overall, okay? So hopefully it'll be something that can work. I know many school districts, they use that as part of their actual transition program to get students comfortable in high school, so I'm hoping that that certainly would work here, too. The other thing I just wanted to mention briefly is that I know that one of the things you're hearing about is this renovation of the high school auditorium. As I said earlier, we are very fortunate to have the arts programs that we have here. And they deserve a better place to actually have performances. You know as well as I do, you've either had children involved in the program, you visit the high school. It's a big facility with lots of good things going on, but it's awfully dingy when you walk in there. And there's just a lot of help that it needs, and we're just trying to get it to a place where all of us can be proud. The elementary schools can use it as well. And we have to keep in mind, too, that if this becomes what we're hoping that it does become, it can be another revenue source for the district. So that, you know, they always refer to me when I go to one of the county meetings, I'm the up county guy. There's not too much happening up county in the sense of looking at these types of programs. We have this very strong program, and outside of schools, there's lots of private companies, dance companies, musical companies, whatever the case may be. This can be a showcase for them as well. So hopefully we can bring in some outside organizations and other school districts to come into West Milford. You know, we're not that far off of Route 23. I was having this discussion earlier with Dr. Pritchett. We're close off of 23. We're not that far from Ringwood and Wanacue. And this area doesn't really have that type of facility. So certainly it would help us in so many ways. I think it would help our students here, help the community. We can look at it even if the Education Foundation wanted to run a fundraiser and have some kind of a concert with a semi-name or one of those oldie groups to come on in to raise money. We'll have a facility to do that. And I'm thinking that this is the right direction to go. So it's, you know, if we can afford to do it, I would suggest that we do it in one fell swoop as opposed to trying to piecemeal it, because you know those projects, by the time you get to the last part of the renovation, the first part's already obsolete. So just keep that in mind. There's lots of positive things that can come out of that. So appreciate your listening to that. And any other questions for Ms. Francisco? Or me, or Mr. Novak? Okay. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Ms. Francisco, for your hard work in putting all these numbers together and all the hours that you've worked. Very good.
executive session.
Okay. President's report. I guess first on the list would be, Reggie, congratulations to V-Bars, the birth of his son.
Oh,
Congratulations. Okay, let everybody know that they should take the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Our Highlander Band will be marching in it. I'm planning on going and watching that. That's going to be a lot of fun. It was at Warren Hills School District. They had a jazz festival, and the jazz ensemble took gold. It was a non-competitive competition, but the jazz ensemble took gold, and our jazz band took silver. So I want to congratulate them. Well done. Our music program continues to perform. So.
And I just found out today they're going to be performing at Trumpets Jazz Club next Wednesday evening.
Yes.
That's, I know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's in Montclair.
Montclair, yeah.
Montclair.
Yep.
Yep. Let's see, Superintendent's Roundtable. I would like to suggest, and it's just a suggestion, that board members, if they can, try to attend a meeting. I think it would be a good opportunity for them to meet the PTA parents, so that they can get a feel for each one of the board members up here, and we get to know who they are. I think that it's a worthwhile proposition. So if you can, contact the superintendent, let him know, or let him know you'd like to attend, and then pick a date. I'm going to be doing that, so I just think that's worthwhile to do that. Let's see, the roofs. As Barbara said, they came in considerably cheaper, nearing the 25% less. So that's a win for the district, and I think because of the size of the projects is what did that for us. So that's good. I would like to have a discussion later with the board that the suggestion that Mr. Drew brought up about putting that grid in the roof to let us know when leaks occur, so that we can go after a specific area instead of a bigger area. We'll know right where it is. It's grid. So I'd like that discussion, since we're saving so much money, might not be a bad.
It's not part of the project.
I know it's not part of the project, but
I would recommend that you speak to the architect about that.
yeah, no, and we need to have that. I think I'd like to have that discussion, though. I think that's worthwhile.
we can't use that money, though.
What's that?
We wouldn't be able to use that money
Right.
that we're saving. We'd have to vote on using additional monies.
I think that what you need to do is have a discussion with the architect.
Yeah, because it would muddy the waters.
When petitioners, also, this is to the board, when petitioners are addressing the board, it is imperative that we give them our undivided attention and respect. I saw at the last meeting that some people, and I'm not saying any names, weren't paying the attention to that young lady who got up and spoke. But we need to respect the petitioners that come up. And also our attendance. We need to make every effort to attend all board meetings, besides board meetings, committee meetings. That's becoming an issue, and I would like to have everybody's go ahead on that. So please to the board, or to the board members, start attending the meetings that you haven't been making. It would be good for all of us. We need to work together. Everybody's got something to give in the discussion, and without you being there, we're missing what you have to offer. So please make all efforts to attend the meetings. And with that, I'm going to go into petitions and requests. Petitioners who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be first with 5 minutes for each petitioner for a period of 30 minutes, and then time permitting, other petitions and requests limited to 5 minutes per petitioner will be allowed until the 30-minute period transpires. Petitioners speaking during petitions and requests are asked to address topics listed for special action in the agenda. All speakers are asked to give their full name, spell their last name. It says provide their address, but our policy says just town that you live in. You don't have to give your address. So speakers may not use the names of students during petitioners and requests. Would anybody like to speak? Mr. Sidowitz. And I am pronouncing that right. Is it Sidowitz or?
Oh, no, you just butchered it. If you want the real pronunciation, it's Sitovich, but most people say Sidowitz, so.
Okay.
Or you could just say Mr. C.
Okay, there we go.
Will Sidowitz, 694 Lakeshore Drive. First off, I want to say congratulations to the students that were a part of the high school musical and the staff that was a part of it. What a fantastic time had by all, and as always, it's just a great tradition in the township to have. Second thing is a little bit off topic. When I was watching the broadcast of the last meeting, if everybody could speak into the microphone, it is definitely difficult to hear when people are watching on 77. I took some notes throughout the presentation of the budget, and my first note is a quote, prepare students for what they can expect in their lives. Now, STEAM is a wonderful program, absolutely wonderful, but there have been many brilliant minds throughout all generations that have fallen to the wayside without financial savvy, or at least a basic understanding financial savvy. And I know that there is one course in the high school that does confront that part of knowledge, but I think that much more could be done in that regard, because going through my many years of high school, being almost a professional student, most people don't understand the basics of credit cards. Most people don't understand that their student loans are a hefty burden that they will have to pay, or insurance of car insurance and health insurance. That's understanding that I think should be provided at some point. Just some food for thought. And also, when the discussion of colleges and university was brought up, lest we forget, Passaic County Community College does have programs, and the state does offer things such as New Jersey Stars, where a talented student of the upper 2% in the class could very well take college courses at the age of 16. That's incredible. So going to my next notes about the Chromebooks, I have a personal fear and things like that, that those become obsolete much quicker than they get used. Not to say that it's a bad thing to have them, because it's great to use technology, especially when it is new at the time. But there are other programs that I feel will stand the test of time, like Excel and Word, and just general typing classes that are a little miscellaneous in the workplace environment now. And to provide courses like that and utilization of those tools would absolutely benefit those students. And other than that, I would like to commend Mrs. Francisco for using the microphone because I heard you most of all, and that was great. So other than that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none,
I'd like to move to close petitions and requests.
second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We need to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented
I'd like to make a
with the
motion.
hand carriers.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, including the hand carries.
Second.
There's some changes on some of the resolutions.
Oh,
Rescinded.
yeah, we'll start again.
Can I point out on personnel on the workshop discussion, number 18, we're going to remove 18 because it talks about to be determined. They've already been determined, so that is on your blue hand carry, which would be number 10. Okay, so we have a number 10 and a number 11. So 18 is removed from the workshop portion and has been moved to the actual take action, special action.
No. Yeah, under workshop discussion. Okay, that's, it's been, this has been removed back, right.
Also, number 16 on workshop discussion,
Personnel?
Under what?
Personnel?
under budget and finance. Number 16 on budget and finance and workshop. The date of February 23rd should actually be March 22nd. For the...
Could you repeat that, please, Mrs. Francisco?
Your page, number 8. Number 16 on page 8.
Okay. Okay,
The date should be March 22nd.
thank you.
Yeah, that'll be for after, because we have 2 or 3 things for after executive session. Yeah. It is, it's 3 individuals involved, it's all 9.
All right. The motion was what?
Rescinded.
Rescinded?
Okay,
Need to
should,
make another one?
sure. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, including the hand carries and the modifications that was just presented to the board and to the public.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Drew, we have 2 items under budget and finance for special action tonight. Would you,
I'd like to move item number 1
Second.
to award a contract for singer equipment.
Second.
okay, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Huber?
Yes.
Ms. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Dever?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Drew?
Yes,
Mr. Foodie?
Yes.
I would like to move item number 2, which is to adopt the preliminary budget. This is the hand carry.
Second.
Thank you, Debbie.
Welcome.
Discussion.
I would like to make a motion to amend this. And what I would like to do,
Can you use your microphone so that...
sorry, thank
That's
you.
all right. I know you got a deep booming voice, but I mean, every little bit helps.
That's fine. I would like to make a motion to amend the preliminary budget. And what I would like to do here is to remove some of the capital outlay for the auditorium in the amount of 1.224. Find the exact amount here in a second. 1.224060 million. That will leave some of the items in the capital outlay, specifically putting AC in, also putting the ceiling repairs in, and amounts for the 15% for contractor fees, 23% for architect fees, and then postpone the remainder of the repairs for the auditorium for a future time. And if I can, I'd like to discuss a little bit about why I'd like to do this.
I'll second that.
The principal issue, well, there are several issues, honestly. For those people who are paying attention, Passaic County pays the highest rate of property tax to income of any county in the entire United States. That's all of them, all 50 states, territories, and every county in New Jersey. What happens here with West Milford is that we have, over the last 15 years, raised taxes, property taxes in the school board at about the rate of 3 times inflation. And of course, inflation is less. Now, most people know, but we're limited in our growth here. Now, by the Highlands Act, there are various reasons. But this increasing tax burden falls on the 26,000 people, slightly less, that have been here for the last 15 years and that are going to be here for the next 30 years or whatever. We have a little under 10,000 properties, and this increasing tax burden has gone on those same people through that time, which is squeezing harder and harder and harder. No ability to grow at all. Inflation itself is not particularly high. The most recent estimate is 0.57%. And over last year, as those people who were senior citizens who live on Social Security know, there was no increase in Social Security. So we keep increasing the tax burden, and we're just squeezing harder and harder on the same people. And while many people in West Milford are doing just fine, some people are not. They're hurting. We have a lot of foreclosures as a result. If we make this amendment, this would result in, by the way, this is a preliminary budget, so we can change this. But this would result in no tax increase from the school board, and in fact would result in a slight return. I think maybe around 0.25%. The voters trusted us to issue bonds to repair our roofs, and so we're going to make $6 million in capital improvements. And I just don't feel like we should pile on with that. We need to be honest with them about whether we need the money or not. It would be nice to make those improvements, but I would rather space that out over time instead of just hammering them with another maximum tax increase. Recently, Passaic County increased their portion of property taxes by 1.6% and said they didn't really need it. There wasn't anything in particular they were going to spend it on, but it would make our bond ratings a little better. I don't think that we ought to squeeze the taxpayers to improve our bond ratings. Just doesn't seem like a worthwhile thing for me to do. Now, the important part here is we would only be cutting the rate of improvement. in the auditorium. We still get the air conditioning, we still get the ceiling fixed. Some of the other things will just wait. Doesn't mean we're not going to do them. We're just not going to add another $2 million of capital improvements on top of the $6 million to repair the roofs. This would involve absolutely no cuts to academic programs. All of the things that we've seen here that I think are excellent ideas will continue. There's still plenty of slack in the budget, and what I'd like to do is hand out. I went over all of the accounts, and what I did was compare what we have spent in the past versus what we have budgeted. And there are several accounts where we consistently budget more than we spend, which is fine. You want to be careful about that. We don't want to run out of money. However, there's some places where we consistently do that.
Thank you.
For example, we are, again, budgeting more than we need, I think, in oil and natural gas. We are budgeting in the last, not last year, but in the previous year, we over budgeted health benefits, overestimated how much that was going to cost us by almost $1 million, $900,000, 2 years in a row. Now, we're going to spend what we need to on health benefits. That's a very important part of what we need to do for the citizens. And there are a number of other areas. I've just included the first 2 pages here. But actually, when I looked at the whole thing, I had, including the capital, a little short of $6 million. So I think even if we do this, we will not be cutting the budget to the bare bones at all. We're doing all the things we need to do to improve academics. And I think there's still slack there in that budget. There's still extra money. So we'll wind up with an excess surplus again next year, even if we do this. We're just slowing down the rate of improvement in the auditorium. Now, one of the things that to me is kind of important of that is we've got engineering fees in there, and we're going to replace the walls and the seats and the carpet. I think that we should have an acoustic engineer look at that to make sure that everything is baffled correctly. We have some of the greatest facilities in the entire world in this area. Carnegie Hall, Metropolitan Opera, New York Philharmonic. If we're going to make these changes, let's design them by somebody who knows how to do that in a way that will really make this a first-class facility. So I'd like to delay that. There's still lots of improvements in here. Parking lots, paving, new parking spaces, new band equipment. I'm not going to go through all of it. I personally am absolutely committed to improving academics in West Milford. And I think we're on a good pace to do that. And nothing about slowing the pace of improvements in the auditorium will in any way impact that. And then finally, as we've been told, this is a preliminary budget. If we need to change this, we can. The way I propose this, I think there are only a couple of items in the budget that you have to change at all. So it should be something that's fairly quick to do. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Dever?
This is to the board president. I guess we're going to amend 1.2 million to 1.22460 out of the budget of 75,974,583, which would bring us down to 74,755,23, if my numbers are correct.
That's what I got.
I agree with trying to reduce the taxes. If you read HuffPost, New Jersey is the number 7 state out of 50 where we're most likely to live paycheck to paycheck. Food healthcare costs, utilities. It costs people a lot of money. It's not easy to make it to New Jersey. West Milford, I haven't heard anyone come up to me yet and say, listen, I want you to raise my taxes. I appreciate it. Please make my taxes higher so we can spend more money. I haven't had that yet, so I have to, I'm fiscally conservative. I got to agree with some of the reductions. And again, it is preliminary, and we're going to hash this out. But hopefully we can come onto the side of an actual reduction. That would be fantastic if we could. Thank you.
Mrs. O'Brien?
Well, I extremely admire Mr. Drew's due diligence in looking at the budget. My feeling is that this is just preliminary. You've brought a lot of good things for us to look at. I just feel that it's so overwhelming that I need time to digest everything and to work towards a positive solution for both the taxpayers and for our community, educational community as well. I also want to know, I work for the county welfare, and if you think an education's expensive, ignorance is even more. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak before we vote?
Can I have that number again that you want to reduce the budget by?
The total budget, instead of 759,745,883, will become 74750,523. The actual number of the reduction is 1.224060 million.
1224060.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Bailey?
What's the next vote on Mr. Drew's amendment?
The amendment.
On the amendment.
Okay, I'll weigh in on that subject. I'll be voting against the amendment.
Could you talk into your microphone, please?
Sorry, what I'm troubled by is that I'm not really aware of Mr. Drew's qualifications other than him being an elected public servant, a dedicated person, and a hard worker. But when we come in here from different walks of life as elected servants, I don't think anybody here is an accountant. I could be mistaken. And we just willy-nilly come up with a spreadsheet and circumvent, undercut the hard work that's going on during a period of many months to craft a budget, to present it here tonight. In other words, it's like cutting the rug right from underneath our administrators. I've sat here for my entire career on the Board of Ed and said the same following statement, and I don't know if it resonates with the public, but they continue, thank God, to send me back to office. And I say the following: I'm not happy about the tax increase, but one thing I know about in West Milford, and I'm even coming around to the municipal side of things, but I know on the BOE side of things, every penny that's raised is spent here wisely. And I know for a fact, because I've been on the trail for many years now, visiting various school districts, etc., that what we do here is nothing short of a miracle. Not only is it a way station, a place for everybody to realize their dreams, every student here in West Milford, it's by far the largest employer in this town. So we're really running two separate entities. And yes, it costs money year in, year out, and although we'd love to have a reduction or a flat line, I don't know how it's possible. But what I do know is that every year when the voters entrust us to oversee this budget, even going back to the good old days when one year it was voted down and one year it was voted up, now we're allowed by law, thank goodness, as long as we stay within the cap, we can approve the budget and move on to bigger fish to fry. So as usual, it's like a broken record. I'll be voting yes on the budget. I thank our BA, our superintendent, our director of education, and all those behind the scenes that work long and hard to put this document together. And for us to sit here and undercut it in one fell swoop, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm going to shut up, but I'm voting against the amendment because I think it's strange, to say the least.
Just for the record, Mr. Drew has been certified by the New Jersey State Department of Education to be a business administrator. It might not be, but he's been certified by the state, and I just wanted to point that out to Mr. Bailey. Mr. Dever.
I just want to acknowledge, Mr. Bailey, it is true that we're not certified accountants, but it is up to the board to either approve or deny the budget as presented to the board. It is up to the accountants and the VA to figure out where we stand on money, how much we're going to spend, and to keep the district rolling forward. This is not an easy decision for me personally, because, you know, we're on both sides. Do we want to ask the taxpayers for more money and be flush with money, or can we sharpen it up a little bit and keep it, you know, reasonable, or no increase, or whatever the case may end up? In the end, this is preliminary, but I still think that, you know, in the end, it's up to the board to approve or deny based on what our VA and the accountants have told us. We'll be making a decision. I hope not to see an increase in the budget. I think we can sharpen it up a little bit. Preliminary, we'll see where it goes.
Hold on one second, because Mrs. O'Brien needs to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, because it's 9 o'clock, to extend our meeting till 9:30 p.m.
Till the executive session. Second. Thank you, Glenn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Real quick, Glenn, you had your hand up?
Yes, one of the many reasons that I ran for position of a board trustee is because I felt that in the past there's been too much of a practice of rubber stamping things, and I think it's, as board trustees, it's our duty to look at these things and discuss them and come out with a an opinion, that an informed opinion that we can then base our vote on. And this is the kind of discussion that we need. I want to thank Mr. Drew for his time put into reviewing the budget. I want to thank Ms. Francisco for her time in creating the budget, but I think discussion like this is healthy.
Okay. Mr. Drew?
Since my bona fides were questioned, just to correct that, I'm certified as being eligible by the state of New Jersey to be a business administrator. I don't have the actual work requirement. I don't have anywhere near the knowledge of our business administrator. I have a master's in business from Carnegie Mellon University in the accounting area in Pittsburgh, and I have worked extensively with corporations in America to help them analyze their costs, like Honda, AMD, Pittsburgh Plate Glass, on and on and on, years and years. I'm only looking at one area, auditorium improvements. I think that we're doing an excellent job of creating academic programs, and I don't in any way want to hurt our academic programs or our special education programs or anything else. I just think this is, and nor am I saying we're not going to do the auditorium improvements. We're just going to slow them down. Had the voters not entrusted us with the referendum, we wouldn't be discussing this at all. All of the money that we have, a maximum tax increase, would go to the roofs for the next several years. They've trusted us, and I think we should be careful with their money and make these improvements over a couple of years.
Mr. Bailey, you had your hand up a few minutes ago. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to thank you for what turned out to be a misclarification of my colleague's resume, so thank you for that information. And I was thinking about one other thing. You know, sometimes we have a tendency to go after these facility-type issues and say, well, we can get by another year, which is true. But that's settling. And unlike DirecTV, I'm not a settler, okay? I've also been a person who, over the years, has led groups of concerned citizens, generally associated with sports groups, too bad, guilty, but they put their money where their mouth is. They've not only done that, they put their time and effort where their mouth is, and they've taken upon themselves financially and using their various business acumens to get things done. And I was part of those types of groups. And I love that kind of stuff because there's certain things around here that I drive by every day. I'm here, and you can't take it away from me. And I know the people that were right there with me. I wasn't necessarily the leader. I'm more an Indian than a chief. But we got her done. And it cost us money, and it cost us time and effort. Facility upgrades. Here's an opportunity our superintendent has visions of on his way out the door, because he's a short timer, turning our auditorium into some kind of an up-county cultural center. What a wonderful idea. Those of us that attend the play or go to various events here, again, what goes on here is literally second to none. So what we're doing as a board and what you're doing as a BA is proposing a budget that takes this, theater, if you will, this stage, this center piece, and polishing it up. The building's 40 years old. I think it's money well spent. I'll be voting against the amendment, and I can't say I can pull off a project of that magnitude by myself because it's way above my pay grade. But that's the problem around here. We're responsible as trustees for being fiscally responsible and also for making sure that the infrastructure does not fall apart. And if we let this go another year, yes, we can address it down the road. But I think the time is now. And again, hang on a second, let me gather my thoughts before I say something. We're not even at the part where we have the turf field, a multifaceted, multi-use facility that's surrounded by bleachers that are 40 years old. We haven't even got to that part. We've talked about upgrading McCormick Field for when we have our graduation, for when we can have a band festival, for when we can host different sporting events. The foundation is there. I did it. I put the turf in and helped spearhead that effort. It's there. Now we have work to do around the outside of that field, and we don't do it. And the auditorium's the same thing. I do not support this kind of talk, and I'm troubled by it, having been on this board for 20 years. That's it. No more from me.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I just wanted to give Barbara some credit. I know this is an enormous undertaking, putting together a $75 million budget. If you look at district budgets, $75 million is one probably at the top of New Jersey. It's a huge budget, and there's a lot that goes into this. I'm just suggesting that we, because it's preliminary, we look into what we can do that will not affect education, but still keep costs under control. And I appreciate everybody's input to this. And I think we're going to hash this out. I appreciate it, Barbara. Thank you.
Comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
To say that I'm disappointed is an understatement. Not only because last year we talked about the preliminary budget as it was presented, and then we worked toward reducing the tax levy in April. But Mr. Drew, I spent time with you yesterday and I explained to you both sides of the story, and yet you still come from the floor to do this instead of giving your board members, your peers, your colleagues, time to hash this out through the month of April. When you have a surplus in funds, like we did this current year, that's going into this budget, you will affect academic program next year. You bring up the fact that we had over $1 million, or about $1 million, in health benefits that was not expended. I spoke to you yesterday about that, and I told you that the employee benefit contribution, and I have not hid that from anyone, I have mentioned that many times, that the employee benefit contribution has helped to create the surpluses that we've had over the last couple of years, which have given us an opportunity to do a lot of things that were lacking in this district. So by not knowing what our employee benefit contribution was, yes, we did have $1 million. However, we put $2.3 million in employee benefit contributions in this budget that's being presented tonight to offset the actual cost of employee benefits. So we've been trimming our costs. Last year we took over $500,000 out of the tax levy. It was my expectation that through the month of April, we would look for other avenues to reduce and not have a 2% tax levy increase, but you would have the opportunity and take the time to make thoughtful decisions. I can tell you that if you don't do a capital project and you put $1.2 million into the budget above what's already being financed into the general fund budget, then next year you will have a hole. And next year you will be raising taxes or you will be cutting program. That's what I have to say.
Mr. Dever?
I just wanted to get clarification for the vote on this amendment, so I'm clear, so I vote correctly. Whether this amendment passes or not, we can still adjust the budget as needed. Is that correct?
Till April 26th.
Till April 26th.
And that's what we did last year. We reduced the budget last year. It's a little bit more difficult to increase.
I'd like to call the question.
Well, one minute. Mr. Rashika wanted to say something.
Yeah, Mr. Drew, yes. I'm also surprised at the last minute, taking place at the board meeting after. There have been several discussions. But my bigger question is, looking at this amount of money, how much are we actually saving each taxpayer in the community? I'm sure you've figured that out. You're very thorough with your numbers. What would be the average savings per household?
Well,
if we were
103 plus about another $20.
So 123, so $23, this would be the $23 savings to the taxpayer. Thank you.
And I want to say something. Normally, in years past, we received the budget in February. We had a whole month to discuss this. This was thrown in our laps a week and a half ago, and this is the time to discuss it. It's unfortunate that we got it so late, or these discussions could have been had already. With that being said, I mean, I have a lot of questions on the budget. I've gone through things besides Mr. Drew. And we've talked about in committees things that we would like to do that would save us substantial money. We have plenty of time to still discuss this, and when we adopt a final budget in April, but there's some frustration on our part as well as we know that there's frustration on your part, Barbara. So, it'll be okay.
One more history lesson. A number of years ago, we had to have the budget completed by the end of March. That no longer is statutorily in effect, which gives us some additional time to work on it, which is why the preliminary budget and the 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks almost, until the final budget is adopted, is something that's new. It's been in effect the last 2 years, and it's something that the board has been able to take advantage of.
I just want to say last year we got our budget February 13th, our preliminary budget. Go ahead, Glenn.
All right, I have a couple questions for Barbara. First, I'd like to say, please don't take this as a personal slight. This is us doing due diligence, in my opinion, is what it looks like to me. First question is, you said it's harder to add money back to the budget from the preliminary. Why?
Everything has to go down to the county superintendent. This budget's going to be approved by them. If we add money to it,
They look at it closer. Got it. All right, second question is, how much money did we have left over last year out of the budget? How much did we not spend?
once again, you're allowed to keep 2%, or you're required to keep almost 2% for fund balance. The $2.9 million, which I have put up there, is excess money.
All right, that's the
It's
total
excess-
excess out of our entire budget.
That was excess surplus that was identified in the audit.
Okay.
We put a couple $100,000 into capital reserve. That was a conversation that the board members had. But $2.9 million was our excess surplus. And when you take excess surplus, which is a variable from year to year, You cannot be guaranteed that you're going to have it from year to year. And you use it to support your academic program, chances are really good that you're going to have a hole in your funding and you will have a problem supporting your academic program in the future. That's it.
Mr. Decker, one last bit, and then we're calling a question. We're going way too long.
Jamie
Yeah,
did
that's all I
already.
wanted to say is, it may be easier, I guess, to cut the budget, preliminary budget, than it is to add, from what I'm gathering from this discussion real quick. And the other thing is, I know this is a heated discussion, and we're all excited about this and passionate about this, but we've got to put aside personal feelings here. We've got to just talk about business and be done with it. Let's move forward.
Terry, you haven't spoken. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have a question. If we're only taking money from the auditorium renovations, how is that going to affect academics?
What's going to happen is your excess surplus, which you have, $2.9 million. If you don't use it for a capital project, which is the one project, like you won't need that money next year because the project will be done. If you use that money to support your academic program, which is a continual expense every year, then you don't know what you're going to have next year. And you will have a hole in your academic program. So when you have excess surplus, the safest thing to do is a project that you've been putting off or that you want to take care of, because next year you don't need the money that you're using the excess surplus. You don't need to do that project again. Do you follow? Do you follow what I'm saying? So that if you use the money that's excess to support your general fund, your programs, that's a reoccurring expense every year. You're going to end up maybe not, good chance you won't have the money to support the programs that you have, the teachers that you have. And so you're going to either have to raise taxes again next year, and you'll have that ability because you'll have banked cap, but do you really want to spike your tax levy like that? Up and down?
I have another question. I'm very surprised. I did go through the budget, and I carefully looked at what needed to be done. And I was very surprised that the bleachers were not included in it. If you go up to those bleachers, and I have my friends and I, we walk just about every night in the summer, and I watch people actually doing the exercises with the steps. God forbid somebody falls through one of those bleachers. I don't understand why we're not addressing that issue. I think that's a little bit more important than the seats in the auditorium. That's just me.
I've brought up the bleachers a number of times, and I've not gotten the support for to do a feasibility study or a structural analysis in order to replace them. I brought them up a couple of times.
I'm sorry, maybe you can clarify something for me. Going back to Terry's original question, aren't all the academic programs already budgeted? Aren't all the academic costs already budgeted?
But if you remove the cost from the auditorium and reduce your tax levy, then you're not going to need. How do I explain it? You have a pot of money, and part of that money is your excess surplus. And with that excess surplus, we're supporting a capital project that you only need to do once. It's a one-shot deal. You never do it again. You don't have to worry about having that money next year. But if you take all that money and you reduce your tax levy, so now all that money is going to support your academic program, you're going to have a hole because you don't know what your excess surplus is going to be next year. It might only be $1 million. So you've just taken almost 2.9 and put it into your academic program. And if you only have $1 million left, you got 1.9 that you got to make up. The only way you can make it up is by raising taxes or cutting program. There's no other way to do it, or getting some kind of windfall.
My concern, again, I go back to, we're saving $23 in taxes for the average homeowner in the town for 1 year, and then probably going up $60 the next year. I just don't know how that works.
But is that $23 based on the average cost of $247,000 for the house? So if you have a house that's worth $500,000,
But
it's
it's
going to
not
be...
market value, it's assessed value.
What's your
So
assessment?
if your house is assessed at 400,000 or 500,000, then it's twice as much, so it's
Well,
$40.
that's-
It's $40 a year.
I'm going to call the question on the amendment. We need to move the meeting forward. It's now 10 minutes before.
Okay, I
We're
will...
probably going to add, so I'd like to call the question on the amendment, please.
Okay, so we have a
So that-
motion and a second.
Yep. Steve made the motion. Terry did the
Second.
second. And this is, what we're going to vote on, a yes vote would be to reduce the budget by $1,224,000. What? $224,060.
Yeah.
So-
$1,224,060.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
No.
Mr. Deller?
I'm going to vote no for this. I'll have an explanation on the budget, the preliminary one. I don't want to give us constraints, cost constraints at this time, so I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Drew?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Foodie?
Yes.
Mr. Huber?
I want to err on the side of fiscal conservatism, so I'm going to say yes.
Ms. O'Brien?
No.
Mrs. Schultz?
No, this is a working document. We still have time to discuss where we want to make cuts, if any at all.
It's a tie, it fails.
Okay. All right, can I have do we need any more discussion on the motion the original motion as presented? No, like Steve made the motion, Debbie made the second on the original motion.
Correct.
Correct.
Since there was no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Francisco?
Mr. Huber?
Abstain.
Ms. O'Brien?
Okay,
This is the
This
original
is
motion.
the original motion.
thank you. Just double checking. Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
No.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Dever?
I'm going to vote yes for this, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, I voted the budget increase down last year, and I'm probably going to vote it down this year. We're going to have to look into this budget closely, but at this point, I'll vote yes because it's preliminary, and we'll see where we go with it. I'd like to see a zero increase. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Drew?
Yes.
Mr. Foodie?
No.
Motion carries. And we will work in the month of April to reduce it.
Okay.
That's it for
Okay.
budget and finance.
What's that?
That's it for budget.
Took up the whole meeting, Steve, thank you. Mrs. O'Brien, special action on personnel and student affairs.
Let's
please.
see how quickly we can get through this, boys and girls. I have items 1 through 9, hand carried, 10 through 11 under special action personnel student affairs.
Second.
Page 3.
Yep. Any discussion?
This, and then the book.
Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Drew?
Yes.
Ms. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Huber?
Yes.
Mr. Dever?
Yes.
Mr. Foodie?
Yes.
That concludes personnel student
That was
affairs.
Mrs. Dwyer, education, please.
Okay, move to vote on the next, these two items.
And we have item 3 on our hand carry, which is, which
That's
we'll
after.
vote on
Okay.
afterwards.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Huber?
Number one, the rearrangement of the calendar, does that include dealing with the June primary day? I know the Paradise Knolls parents were concerned about security and all that.
If we're talking about this coming June, no, that's not part of that. We are looking into increasing the security, as we have discussed at committee meetings. These days would be the day after Easter Monday, the Friday before Memorial Day, and also taking 3 days off the end of the school year so we can finish the school year on June 21st as opposed to June 24th.
All right, we're discussing dealing with security. If we're not going to leave a day to avoid the conflict of the voting with the school, we have to do security.
Yeah, we will.
And substantial security.
Yeah, we talked about having 2 security guards. I mean, one of the issues we had was we weren't comfortable with the one person and what was happening there. So we're looking for more, 2 people, a little bit more enforceful in doing what they're supposed to do. So that's what we were looking at.
Special police officers trained.
I would like to, one, special was fine with me as long as we can possibly have 1 regular police officer on a special assignment. Okay.
And just for the board, we discussed about this, having more security, but for the November election, school will be closed on election day. So, because it's going to be, I'm sure, a crazy...
This is a strange election year.
So...
We didn't vote on the calendar yet, right?
Really?
We didn't vote on the calendar for next year yet.
Of course.
It's been recommended.
I'm a PK
Can I get a
mom, believe
copy
me, I
of
get it.
Can board members get a copy of that calendar before we vote on it?
Mr. Rashid?
Yeah, we will. We just had the updated version come to us, so I will share that with everyone. Okay.
Prior to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
voting.
we approved that in the committee,
So-
and it'll be coming to the board. Okay, Mr. Drew, workshop.
No, we have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't read.
1 and 2, roll call vote, please, Barbara.
Mrs. Schultz,
yes.
Mr. Drew,
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey, Mr. Dever, Mr. Foodie.
Yes. You'll note that Mr. Bailey left at 9:25.
He's in the
No,
hall.
he's in the hallway.
Oh, he did come. Okay, I thought he left. He comes
No,
and
he's in the
goes
hall.
He comes and goes as he pleases. I thought he left
Can we
again.
move on, please?
Workshop discussion.
Yourself.
Budget and finance. Mr. Drew?
The items for the regular meeting are as proposed here. I'm not going to read through them.
No.
No.
That's the end of that.
Are there any questions on any of these items?
Number 2, terms of lease to purchase. I'm showing my newness. On the bus purchases,
Yes,
it's a 5-year lease purchase term.
yes.
So what is that? You're basically leasing,
We buy the buses and we pay them out over a 5-year period. And we're technically leasing them to purchase them.
It's essentially a finance program, but for school purposes, it's called lease purchase.
at the end of 5 years, we own it?
We own the buses.
And there's nothing more to pay?
No more.
Okay, thank you.
You just don't have to pay it all at one time.
Thank you.
And if it's okay with the board, we're going to have a resolution because we have to put this motion in at the next meeting.
Next week, yes.
So that we can get them in production.
Okay. And I would just like to point out, that was pointed out earlier on item 16, that's not February 23rd, that's March 22nd.
Right.
Mrs. O'Brien, you want to?
Sure, I have 23 items that are here for you this evening that will be voted on next week. And I would also want to say publicly that we're losing 2 very wonderful people over at Macapin, Melissa Cavanino and William Griner. They both worked with both my children back in the day, and outstanding people in our district, and I am sorry to see them leaving.
Any questions on any of those items under personnel?
Yep. Number 15, are any of those from instructors, math instructors? I believe we have a shortage.
Yeah, we do have a shortage. I would have to look back. I don't know off the top of my head to look at their resumes. Okay?
I'd like to know if we're...
I don't think, it's very difficult. We've been trying throughout the county to get math instructors, and that's one of the hardest ones to get. So we are working on it. Okay?
Okay, and number 18 under personnel was removed because we voted on that tonight.
Correct.
Right.
All right, I'm sorry, yep. Thank you.
Mrs. Dwyer, education. We
The
have some,
following 5 items are presented for anticipated action at the regular meeting, March 22nd.
any questions? Seeing none, what I would like to do is extend executive session till 9:40.
I'll make that motion.
We just got to go through all the new business.
Yeah, no, you mean regular session, not executive session, right?
Well, yeah, executive session until 9:40.
Oh.
Postponing executive.
You got it.
We need a second.
I will second it. You're welcome.
Okay.
Now we have to vote on it.
Yep, I know.
Thanks, Joe.
Yes!
Aye.
We vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Any old business? Anything under old business?
Seeing none, I'd like to move to close old business.
Need a second? To close old-
Second.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. New business. Anything under new business? Mrs. Dwyer.
At the Education Committee, I had asked Mr. Novak and Mr. Asika if they could get some kind of feedback on the new SAT that came out. Did you hear anything from guidance or the kids or?
We haven't received the feedback yet. We're waiting to hear from guidance.
All right, thank you.
The important thing is we didn't hear anybody screaming and yelling that it was terrible, so
Oh,
that's
good.
that's
a
good.
good thing. I was just curious.
All right. For those of you not aware of it, the new SATs are set up pretty much the same way as Park is. So it is online, and it's just set up in the same format. So we're waiting to get some feedback, and we're curious to see how the scores come back on this as well.
Anything else under new business?
Seeing none, I'd like to close new business.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, petitions and requests. Petitioners who request to speak prior to the meeting will be first with 5 minutes for each petitioner for a period of 30 minutes, and then time permitting, other petitions and requests limited to 5 minutes per petitioner will be allowed until the 30-minute period transpires. All speakers are asked to give their full name, spell their last name. We don't need your address, but what town you live in. Speakers may not use the names of students during petitions and requests. Anybody like to speak?
We have Mr. Peruki and Ms. Peruki that want to speak. I don't see them.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak? Seeing none.
I'd like to close petitions and requests.
Okay, second.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie. All in
Sorry.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It is now 9:34. I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's search, personnel, negotiations, and matter of attorney-client privileges and HIBs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we will be voting on the hits when we come out of from executive session.
I gotta get up and stretch. I just don't trip on your stuff here.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's okay.
10:49.
Motion to extend the meeting to 11 o'clock, because we have a 10 o'clock limit now.
we can get through this in a couple minutes.
Just making a point.
We have, Terry, the resolution for the HIVs.
Okay, move to approve the HIB discussed in executive session,
Second.
As presented.
as presented.
Second was Debbie. Any discussion? Seeing none, Barbara, could you vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Huber?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz? Yes. Ms. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Cooley?
Yes. Okay, Debbie,
Yes, sir.
the 12 and 13 are all yours.
Thank you so much. I'd like to make a motion to approve the items number 12 and 13, the hand carries that were discussed in executive session.
Under personnel.
Under Personnel, Student Affairs.
I'll second it.
Second?
Make,
Okay.
second it.
Any discussion?
Just for the record, these were on the agenda and presented to the public at last.
Yes, and they were pulled for discussion. Thank you, Joe. Any discussion? Barbara?
Yes, please. Can we?
Can we do both? Yeah, we can do it at the same time.
We're not altering either, are we?
Yeah, actually, these are both the same.
All right, she wants to get it.
Ms. O'Brien?
Yes, for 12 and 13.
Mr. Drew?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Huber?
Yes.
Mr. Cooley?
Yes, on 12, I'm abstaining on 13.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
No, we're going to stay around for 11 o'clock.
You can.
I have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Drew, and that was...
Seconded by.
Oh, you got one more?
Did we do that?
What is that?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, she did. So, motion by Mr. Drew, seconded by Mrs. Dwyer to adjourn the meeting at 10:53. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Nobody messed you up, Barbara, I'm sorry.